Has there ever been anything that you really, really want to do, whether it's currently in your life, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your household, whether it's in your sports, your competition, and for whatever reason, you just find yourself every time you get ready to start, you stop yourself, pause, and not follow through with it. Henry David Thoreau had the great quote that said, most men, which that was back then, but most people live lives of quiet desperation. My goal today is a couple things. Number one, having worked and work with high-level athletes, entrepreneurs, business owners, and coach experts who want to actually turn their expertise into business and profits while doing stuff they're excited about. One of the biggest things I see is that most people are just continually getting into their own way, preventing themselves from actually doing the thing that they desperately want to do. And for a moment, I want you to step back and ask yourself, well, why is that really happening? And whose permission are we seeking? Now, I'd like to claim that this is something that has been inborn in us since we were very, very little. It's also one of the reasons why when we talk about money's attracted to speed, or we teach the concept of the leapfrog theory, which is from a previous video I did, which talks about no one, or you have no obligation to gain permission from anybody to go out and do what you want to do. In fact, the leapfrog theory states that at any given time, you can leap to the top of any market, of any segment, and claim your right to be in that top 1%, 3%, or 5%. And I'd actually go one step further, is that until you decide to do that, you will always be stuck in the middle of the pack, fighting the most amount of competition and sludging your way forward. Now, quick funny story was back when my two oldest, Grace and Michael, who are now 20 and 19, when they were younger, we have 7 kids, my wife and I. So we would send them to school, and like a good old Irish Catholic family that is always running late, our time was always a few minutes past the bell. But what was interesting is that when the first quarter was over, Grace, my oldest, who followed all the rules, had 4 times the amount of tardy slips than my son Michael. And so the two just acted differently. Like when they were late and the teacher was out there giving the slips, Michael would slip, no pun intended, right past her and get to his class and just enter his room and sit in his chair. And he never had to do, he didn't get nearly as many tardy slips. He didn't look for permission. He wasn't looking for the permission slip. And so what I'd like to encourage you is in our business, we're dealing with entrepreneurs on a daily basis, right? And a lot of times when it comes to growth, we can lay out the formulas, make more offers to better audiences, charge more, do it more often, follow our system, stay in front of them, run the webinar or run the challenge or post a video on YouTube or Facebook or whatever it might be. And it always comes down to internal beliefs that constantly haggle them, stop them, have them do victimville behaviors that actually stifle their opportunity to grow. Quick story I told on a different podcast today was yesterday I was at an event. I spoke at an event, bunch of entrepreneurs, talked to one professional who runs his own company. He's been in business 20-something years. How's business? Oh, business is awful. The market's killing me. The rhetoric in the markets, the politics, blah, blah, blah. He had every single reason why business was awful and bad. 2 minutes later, I go over there, a guy's ordering a drink. I said, how's business going? And he says, oh, business is booming. I got 4 clinics. The clinics are all busy and people are lining up. I go, are people still spending money? He goes, yeah, people are always spending money. We got specialists in this office and we're able to do that. And it's so interesting is here's 2 different people living really close to each other in the same industry, in the same business, but one person's having such a horrible time and the other person is not. And so it really goes to the frame of mind. Now, what I'd like to encourage you on number one here is the whole premise of this video today is getting started and taking massive action right now. Now, the reason that is because in our society is people tell you like, you got to be perfect, you got to plan, you got to do all that stuff. Yeah, you got to plan. But here's the reality is that you can't get better until you are bad. You can't get better until you are bad. Take anything. You know, we're a big volleyball family. All we talk about is sports and doing things. My son's golfing in college. Like, listen, if we looked at video from 6 years ago when he picked up the first golf swing and he was doing stuff in our backyard compared to now, he'd probably cringe at how bad he looked back then, right? But he had the things that were not directly correlated to talent. Is he had a huge excitement for the thing. He had a huge desire for that thing. And when you combine excitement towards something with a desire towards something, all you need to do is sprinkle in some mentorship, a mastermind, a path and plan. And all of a sudden, you have the path to skill sets that you can learn. But you first need to say, look, I'm going to give myself permission. Where's the first permission slip? Internally. You're not missing anything. Maybe you got to acquire a few skill sets. You got to give yourself that first permission to actually take the first step and be bad at something first before you become good at something first. In marketing, we call it testing. In competition, we call it learning, right? And so, you know, I used to, when I would run my volleyball camps and I'd say something, or my first day of practice or second day of practice, I would purposefully catch people doing something wrong. And I'd say, hey, everybody freeze. Do you see how, and I'll pick on Gina Guidi, one of my favorite players of all time. I vividly remember this 20 years ago. All right, do you see how Gina just shanked that ball and it went out of bounds? And what are they expecting me to say next? Like, you know, like to criticize her. And I would say something like, look, give me 2 claps for Gina. Pop, pop. I'm like, for us to compete in the national championship by the end of the year, we are going to be the team that's going to make the most amount of errors, the most amount of mistakes, the most amount of whatever. Because if we're making mistakes and we're learning every single day, we're gonna be able to make leaps and bounds behind from where we currently are today. And I would do this analogy. I'm like, everybody's got 6 months. Everybody's got this amount of practices. But if we sprint for balls, if we get more serves, if you get 2 extra serves in this spot, you know, like it was just like that's why I love coaching so much, because the people who can get that kind of mindset of like, I'm going to suck until I'm great. I'm going to suck until I'm no longer sucky. And then I'm going to be good. And then I'm going to be good. And I'm going to become great. And I'm on the rising side of things, not on the downside of things. Okay. So the other concept is that if somebody else has been able to accomplish it, then I should be able to replicate it. Now, is that always true, right? The answer is no. Like if I decided to become the next basketball player in the NBA because I see that, am I able to replicate what, what's the dude's name? He just scored 56 points last night. Steph Curry. No, the fact of the matter is talent does matter. But in most of life, endurance and sticking to itness matters a heck of a lot more. The fact of the matter is they say that less than 1% of high school athletes actually play collegiate sports. Anytime I meet an athlete, doesn't matter the sport, I'm like, look, if you want to compete somewhere in college, somewhere, somehow, there is a place for you, okay? So why do so many people do it? Well, no judgment on this. It's because they stop playing. They just stop, right? I teach my kids young. I'm like, look, junior high, you're going to high school. Half the people that you're competing with are going to drop out in the next 2 years. Why? Because either they get into drugs, drinking, or whatever, or they find something else they're doing, or they get distracted, or they get bored, they get burned out. Whatever those reasons are, it doesn't matter. If we can find ways to keep you excited about this, and it's something that you truly desire, then there's a pathway for you, you know? And the same is true for you and I. It doesn't matter the age. Like I'm be 50 this year, right? I still vividly remember when I came out of nursing school, came home, told my parents, like, look, I'm not going to go into nursing. I'm going to go become an entrepreneur. I had no idea what that meant, other than I was going to be broke for the next so many years, and then maybe multiple more times in that journey, because that is the chance and the risk that you take as an entrepreneur. But back then, I didn't have a model. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have the pathway that so many of us have now. Right now, you can go on YouTube. Anything you want to learn is right there for you to learn, right? You want to learn how to craft offers that sell. We could teach you that. In fact, I bet you in our description below, there's actually a link to one of our things with a great coupon, whether it's free or whether it's a huge discount. I'd love to have the ability to teach you how to make more sales to the best buyers in your audience, how to stand out, how to be different. But I didn't know what those things were. I went to school for nursing. I came out. I had to learn all this stuff. How did I learn it? The same exact way you're learning things right now. You're watching a video, you're listening to audio programs, you're listening to podcasts, and then you got to get started doing it. Get the judgment out of it, right? So we got to first suck before we get started. We got to realize it's okay to be bad before you become great, because that's where everyone started. We also got to realize, number 3, that as long as I have a desire and excitement, that's a super important thing. Heard a great quote from somebody recently, and I can't give credit because I can't remember his name. He talked about quit setting goals with what you want, but actually make a list of what excites you and then pursue that and do that, because everything that you want is on the opposite side of what's going to excite you. And I'm sure there's caveats in there, and I'm sure there's different ways to look at that. But what I want to encourage you on is that you got to get started. All momentum, everything comes from getting started. Now, today, one of my virtual mentors, right? You may be watching, if you're one of my friends, you're watching like, Ed, why are you recording this on a Friday night at 6 p.m.? We're going to be leaving here soon to go. We got a volleyball championship actually in an hour and a half. But I'm recording this tonight. Why? Because one of my mentors just hit his 1,000,000th subscriber on YouTube. 1,000,000th subscriber. His name's Myron Golden. You got to check him out. He's amazing. He's like my kindred spirit in a lot of ways. He does things that are really cool. But he decided to just start posting videos once a week. And he said, I'm going to give myself 10 years. Now, I've heard that multiple times. And I got to admit something. I've started multiple times and I've stopped multiple times. Usually because I didn't realize that I was actually making an impact each time I try, learning something, doing something, right? Now, I got to tell you something funny. So my audience isn't as big as his. Doesn't really matter. When we post, when we create value for people, and I'm talking to you now, when you decide like, look, this is what I want to do. I want to help people. So if you have a business, if you have an idea, if you have something that can help people and you're not sharing your expertise, your wisdom, your insights, maybe your struggle, the thing that got you to where you are, then the world is not being given permission to be impacted by you because you're waiting too long. There's not one business out there that can't be putting up more content, positioning themselves more as an authority to help more people. You want to do it quicker, do more faster. You want to help more businesses, bring the new technology to them. You have to be able to speak to their pains, problems, concerns, hopes, dreams, desires, fear, uncertainty, and doubts. That is what they care about. You could sell them the AI stuff. You could sell them the video stuff. You could sell them the local ranking stuff. You could sell them the insert whatever you want to sell them. But if you're not committed to getting off the gate, you're just leaving out that opportunity to impact people. Okay. Now, here's the funny thing. You don't need massive followings like the Kardashians and Mr. Beast. If you know who Mr. Beast is, you don't need those types of people to make the impact and the people you want to make the impact in and have them show up. I'm looking at my computer now. I probably had like 15 people reach out in the last day off a video I posted that only got a few hundred views. So the point I'm making is that, look, we had a doctor yesterday get a $60,000 case from a video that was 1 minute long. He posted in his spot. Bam, the guy, it's like it got to the right person. The algorithms are trying to help him out, right? So, you got to get started. What's holding you back? Who do you need permission from? Maybe I'm giving you the permission slip today. But Ed, you don't understand. Whatever you're about to tell me about what I don't understand, I want you to write it out, and I want you to step back and look at it and ask yourself, who gave you those agreements? Who gave you that false belief system? Who has actually convinced you that that's reality? And then what I'd like you to do is flip all those belief systems into why that's your greatest strength. Hey, you're getting too old. Well, you know what? Wisdom does come in long packages, right? Imagine one of the things I had to struggle with a lot, to be honest with you, is that I've had businesses that were successful, and I've made some of the worst mistakes I could ever make in business that cost me way more money than I'd be willing to comfort, or like I don't want to share. It's embarrassing. I'll blush, whatever. But here's the reality. Do you know how many clients now come here and sit down with me and they pay me ridiculous sums of money to sit there for a consulting day, who are in the same industry, who know that I grew it and then something went sideways and screwed it up? Because all of that journey, the potholes, that's where all the wisdom's at. That's where the launch or the springboard, that's where it's all launching from next, right? And so again, what is your excuse for not doing the thing you want to do, right? Lay it out there. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. I'm too talented. I screwed it all up. I'm not talented enough. Well, maybe you're the grittiest person anyone's ever met, right? And so whatever that list is, I want to challenge you before we wrap up this quick little video today, because we do got a championship we got to go to. And then tomorrow, guess what? We're going to be in the gym again. And that's just what we do. Is that when you get started, you've probably heard this before, the world starts working with you. You could say your prayers, and then, you know, I believe in Christ. That's who I follow. And I believe that God wouldn't put something in your heart, a seed in your heart that he's not willing to bless and make the rains come. But you got to take the first step on this. Does that make sense? Your future partner, your future relationships. Maybe, what if I actually said this? What if your best relationships you haven't met yet? What if your best idea is one bad idea away? So you launch something, it fails, like conceptually, like, and you could figure that out in, say, in 24 hours. And then you're like, well, that didn't work. And then we're going to try another thing and try another thing. Well, what if your best idea is on the fourth thing? And if you're in business, man, listen, social media is free. You could be posting videos and you're like, well, nobody responded to that. That's good to hear. What about the next one? Okay, well, nobody responded to that. And then the third one, you're like, oh my gosh, that was the most response we've gotten. Let's do a little more of that and we get better at it. And then you do it again and you do it again. And all of a sudden you're like, damn, we're miles down the road from where we used to be. And so when we look back on that fearful, scared person 3 months ago, 6 months ago, we don't even recognize that person, because we're an action taker. And now we got new belief systems, because I don't know who made this up, if it was Myron or Alex Hormozy, but if it's not working for you, it's working on you. And if it's working on you, that means it could be alone, it could be by yourself. It is, which is why you need a tribe, which is why you need a mentor and a mastermind. I don't want to get into that too much here right now, but it's like, it's working for you and you're moving further down. And then one day you're going to wake up and you're going to look back on that old person, or that past person of yours that is so far in your past, and you're going to be like, man, I never realized how I don't even recognize that person anymore, because I'm now a person of action. I'm now a person that highly motivated winners show up to talk to and ask to hire and to be around, because simply by being the one who takes action, everybody else wants to be around that person because they're moving so fast. I call it I first learned this in a book called Mastery years ago by Tim Perrin, great virtual mentor of mine. And he talked about as the undertow, I think it was the wake. When a boat goes flying up in, like, imagine a wakeboarding boat, it goes super fast. And then all of a sudden, it down throttles to neutral. What comes up behind it? Well, it's the wake. And so it's like the engine's moving. When you're looking forward, you can't see the momentum that's happening. But all of a sudden, when you stop, everything comes up behind you. And this is the last thought I'm going to leave you with. I talk about it in my book, Time Collapsing, which is, you got to realize there's a real tsunami in life, that things you did 6 months ago are coming to fruition now. So if you did little action, you did little effort, you did little bits of stuff, you're not experiencing a lot of momentum, because the tsunami is not really rising. But if you're like hammering home, be like, I'm not asking for permission anymore. I'm taking action daily. This is what excites me. This is what I desire. And I'm going to fail my way to that. And then all of a sudden I get better every single day. And you do that for 3 months, 6 months, 1 month, 1 year, 2 years. And you give yourself permission to not be phenomenal at first, not allow others to judge you, not allow your fake people that you put in your head to judge you. You just shut off their mouth. You close their mouth. You not really. Don't go up to people on the street and do it. But you imagine in your head, you push them away down into a corner, and you just like put tape over their mouth. And you're like, I don't hear that anymore. I hear an encouraging person behind me. I hear the person behind me that's going to be there in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years. And that's how you get started now. So, hey, I'm Matt O'Keefe. I hope you enjoyed this. There should be a link in our description where you can learn more about how we can help you. Both we have free options, we have paid options, and we can help you with your business. We can help you with getting things going. Most importantly today, though, I just really hope you take massive action. This should inspire you, and share this with somebody who needs it at the same time. So that's it. God bless. Have an amazing day, and I will see you guys soon.